extraction shooters like Escape from Tarkov, that is a free market. There is also a market, I think, in Arena Breakout Infinite, but I do think that we will all agree that Arc Raiders is not that kind of a game, like in almost all of the sense that extraction shooters are. Arc Raiders is much in the middle between the casual for fun play and the extraction shooter looter simulator as it is. It's nowhere near as hardcore as games like Tarkov or Arena. That doesn't even really matter for this topic though, because apparently the game at some point was considering this idea. It was fully implemented in the game in very early stages, but the developers decided to not go in that direction because, quote, it's a risky territory, which it definitely is. Virgil Watkins, he did address what the biggest issues would actually become from the game. The risk or premonition that if they implement something like an auction house, the game would instantly become less about the items, which is about exploring the map and finding the items, and much more about making money, which basically just means that you need to find almost any items worth anything, sell them, then go to the auction and buy the items that you actually need. And that is something that Embark didn't want in the game. They didn't want to incentivize making money over finding items, which is kind of like extraction shooters very often work, making you make money. And it's almost always, above all, make enough money so that you can get good gear. But Arc Raiders is, I think at this point, very notorious about first and foremost find good, very specific items. Don't try to make money. I mean, that's interesting idea, and I do think I would agree with it if they didn't make expeditions literally about making money. That is one of the biggest critiques about expeditions, about the vibes that we got a first vibe recently, and the one thing about that expedition was that you needed 5 million coins in order to get 5 extra skill points. And that turned the entire game and the idea of it upside down, because, I mean, until now it was about finding the items, but once you start telling people they need to make money, they will start just spawning in the game with nothing but free kits and looting anything they can get their hands on and just doing that over and over again instead of doing the things you should be doing, like killing Ark and helping each other and all these other things. And so this one decision that Embark made basically turned the game into what they didn't want the game to be at all, which is pretty interesting. There's one more angle about the auction that I wanted to mention, and that is that it's ironic because I understand where Embark is coming from when they say they don't want people to hoard money in order to find items online or find items outside the maps, because that's the point of the game. You are supposed to be exploring the map, finding the items and extracting with them. But Auction House would basically let you bypass the process that Embark really want you to go through. So it's understandable they wouldn't want that in the game. However, what you might not know is that there are sites like eBay where you can buy digital items like blueprints or any items related that you might need, and you can find them. How that works is as basic as you probably imagine already. You would just go to eBay, you find the item, you contact the person, you pay them, presumably through PayPal or whatever, doesn't matter probably. They will just give you the item and that's that. But auction house or auction market or any market really at this point would do in the game would completely destroy any business people set up, thanks to the lack of actual in-game market. And so this poses a question, in my opinion, whether or not Embark understands, realizes, knows that because they decided to take the high road and not include something that might be controversial, that might be even abused and might not make the game the way they want the game to be, they have incentivized instead a behavior that most extraction shooters hate, which is basically people are hoarding the items the same way they would normally, but now they're actually making money, which arguably is much worse, because the incentive went from not exploring the map enough to just hoard the items so you can sell them for hard cash. And sorry, but that is just much worse, isn't it? So that's like one interesting thing that I wanted to mention today. We could have had some kind of auction, free market apparently, that was ultimately scrapped because it didn't agree with the philosophy of this exact game, where you are supposed to primarily want to explore the maps and kill Ark and have fun with other people. And because of the lack of this mechanic, we have real life markets on the internet that are abusing this lack of mechanic. So I'm not a game dev, but that is a fuck up and a half if you ask me. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you later.